Nearly a quarter of new car registrations in June were battery electric vehicles. Chinese car brand offers customers a free bungee jump at pop-up London showroom, just to give them a first-hand perspective of what the EV depreciation graph will actually look like if they buy one. BEV registrations made up 24.8% of sales in June. Overall, registrations were up 6.7% in the best month since 2019. Demand for electric cars grew by 39.1%, but levels are still below mandate requirements. June saw battery electric vehicles account for nearly a quarter, 24.8%. I don't know why they don't just put accounted for 24.8% of new car registrations, according to the latest figures from the SMMT. The new car registration figures out today showed that the market was up 6.7% to 191,316 vehicles in the month, the highest level since 2019. Demand for battery electric vehicles, BEV, grew by 39.1% to 47,354 vehicles, with 1 in 4 buyers choosing one in June. Despite this rise, and manufacturers and dealers heavily discounted to increase sales by customers, the figure is still well below mandated levels though. The SMMT has calculated that by adding a government incentive, 267,000 additional BEVs would be put on UK roads over the next 3 years. So the SMMT have calculated a government incentive would put another 267,000 additional BEVs on the roads. But in the last 18 months, the manufacturers have given away 6.5 billion in discounts. You save a fortune on your tax. And yet they're still not flying off the shelf. Doesn't make any sense, does it? And this shower of clowns are calling for government incentives to drive the prices further down, to make them depreciate more, and to take all the ICE cars with them. That's our like trade body. They should shut the doors. SMMT Chief Executive Mike Hawes commented, "A second consecutive month of growth for the new car market is good news, as is the positive performance of EVs." But it's not. You know it's not. Listen, next paragraph. That EV growth, however, is still being driven. Right, let's just go that again. SMMT Chief Executive Mike Hawes commented, "A second consecutive month of growth for the new car market is good news, as is the positive performance of EVs." So that's good news. That EV growth, however, is still being driven by substantial industry support, with manufacturers using every channel and unsustainable discounting to drive activity. Yet it remains below mandated levels. So it's good news that they've gone up. How is it good news when you're having to use every channel and unsustainable discounting and still miss the target? They've used every channel, everyone, exhausted everyone that they know to sell vehicles. And they've gone to a level of unsustainable discounting and they still haven't hit the target. Tell me, how is that good news? Can anybody see something that I can't? Because I see the motor trade spiralling. I see dealers spiralling. And the only thing is, do you believe in karma? I actually do. I really do believe in karma. And all these people who are advising you and telling you that EVs are the best thing since sliced bread, most of them don't actually have any money in selling EVs, but I'm sure they benefit in some way by EV sales taking off. As we have seen in other countries, government incentives can supercharge the market transition, without which the climate change ambitions we all share will be under threat. So I worked out the other day that 90% of the used EVs on Auto Trader haven't yet reached their carbon neutral position with ICE cars. So we'd have been better off with 90% of those vehicles never being sold. Amending the ECS to remove the majority of BEVs from its scope and cutting VAT on new BEVs and public charging would boost demand significantly. This would also help deliver a vibrant domestic market, becoming a leader not just in decarbonisation but in affordability. If implemented for 3 years, an additional 267,000 BEVs rather than fossil fuel vehicles would be put on the road, driving down CO2 emissions by 6 million tonnes a year. But would it? Because a more carbon intensive process to make EVs. Lots of them are coming from China, who are making EVs with just about the dirtiest fuel you can possibly get. I think it said that China and Poland have a dirty fuel grid. So we're buying EVs off China, and our evangelists are telling us that Chinese EVs are going to take over, and everybody knows the name. They're telling us all this. What they're not telling us is they are quite dirty to produce, and then they ship them over from China. It looks like they're not selling in China. They've got wires to them there. They're just pre-registering them, then deregistering them, then sending them to Russia as new cars. And you lot are all lapping it up, selling more than Teslas, more than Elon. So I think the question is, why are all these people pointing you towards Chinese EVs? Why are Chinese EVs in the news all the time? Why are Auto Trader always mentioning them? Because what I think we need to ask ourselves is, if your main concern is the climate, how much longer does it take for an EV that's built in China and shipped to the UK to achieve carbon neutrality with an ICE car than it does for an EV that's built and sold in the UK? Key points influencing the payback time difference: battery and car production emissions. EV batteries made in China typically use coal-heavy electricity, 108 kilograms of CO2 per kilowatt hour of battery capacity. In contrast, UK or EU-based battery production can use grids with 50% or more renewable nuclear power, cutting CO2 intensity to 45 to 60 kilograms of CO2 per kilowatt hour. Shipping emissions. Ocean freight from China to the UK adds 0.5 to 1.5 tonnes of CO2 per car. Per car. Depending on shipping efficiency and route, and whether they actually get here and don't sink. UK-made EVs avoid these shipping emissions entirely. Operational emissions. Once in the UK, both EVs use the same UK grid, 180 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour as of 2024. So operational emissions don't change, only production-related CO2 affects payback time. Typical carbon debt estimates. China-built EVs sold in the UK, 10 to 15 tonnes of CO2 total upfront emissions, vehicle plus battery plus shipping. UK-built EVs sold in the UK, 6 to 8 tonnes of CO2 total upfront emissions. Payback period in UK driving conditions. Studies from ICCT Transport and Environment and Carbon Brief show UK drivers average 7,500 to 10,000 miles a year. An EV in the UK saves 1.5 to 2 tonnes of CO2 per year, compared to an equivalent petrol diesel car. So China-built EV, 10 to 15 tonnes divided by 1.5 to 2 tonnes per year. Payback takes 5 to 7 years. UK-built EV, 6 to 8 tonnes, divided by 1.5 to 2 tonnes per year. Payback takes 3 to 4 years. A China-built EV takes about 2 to 3 years longer to achieve carbon neutrality, break even with ICE. than a UK built EV. Bottom line, an EV built in China, shipped and sold in the UK will typically take 5 to 7 years to reach carbon break even with an ICE car, whereas an EV built and sold in the UK can break even in 3 to 4 years, meaning the China built EV needs 2 to 3 years longer to offset its higher production and shipping emissions. Now please ask yourself, if the mission is clean air and the future of the planet for these evangelists, why would they be promoting Chinese EVs with the ferocity that they are doing? Why would they do it? And if you can come up with any reasons other than the ones I'm thinking of, then you're better than me, because there is no upside to promoting Chinese EVs in the UK if it's clean air that you want. If your goal is to save the planet. Although petrol car sales dropped by 4.2% in June, it was still the most popular fuel type that consumers purchased, with 88,029 new vehicles. Plug-in hybrid vehicles also saw a surge in demand, up 28.9% in June and accounting for 11.2% of the market. So really speaking, they're petrols. We all know the petrols. They only put them in with EVs when they want to say, oh, plug-in vehicles. More plug-in vehicles have sold. Some plug-in petrol vehicles have sold as well, but we'll sweep that under the table. I'm afraid it's just a joke. Nearly a quarter of new car registrations in June were battery electric vehicles. And then we go 4th of July. Sales for fully electric cars increased 39% as fleet sales dominate. They're not real sales. Sales of battery electric vehicles increased by almost 2/5, 39.1% in June, compared to the same month last year, as fleets continued to power the new car markets. I read a headline the other day that Motability are registering a lot of vehicles, and by the sounds of it, in order to help meet this government targets, they're classing more and more things as disabilities. I'm sure it said 20 vehicles had gone to people with food intolerances. I'm not one to make fun of disabilities, but food intolerance, you get a brand new, I mean, to be fair, if somebody gave me a brand new electric vehicle, it would probably cure me. If I was disabled, I'd say, no, I don't want that, thanks. Let me go and get back to work. I'll do anything. Forget about my food intolerance. You know, I'm going to stop eating the food I'm intolerant to. See if that does me any good. You know, see if I can get around in my own car. If I stop eating wheat. It's just so pathetic, isn't it? Don't you think? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.